We are good. We're not too loud. Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. All right, Chris, you good? All right.
Okay.
Welcome to the downside. My name is Gianmarco Soresi. I am here with my co-host Russell Daniels.
Hi.
Just looking over my notes.
I'm looking at your notes trying to guess.
Yeah.
Things. Yeah. It says penis.
Penis.
Soul
Don't give anything
cycle.
away.
Okay. Okay.
I no. The thing I wanted to tell you the night of. My guest, we were both at the Todd Berry birthday party.
Oh, right. Am I allowed to speak?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're in this.
Oh.
You're
And
here.
then-
Yes.
Well, I'll just do it now. Brittany Carney's here.
Yeah.
It never works. I
Oh.
have this fantasy of like you talk and here's how I want the listener to go. Ooh, what's that third
Ooh,
voice?
who's that person?
Do I recognize that voice? Oh my
Yeah.
God!
A little
sounds like-
intrigue.
I think I've heard that voice on Comedy Central. And
I think I was, well, sure. I understand that fantasy, and I feel like I wasn't sure what your guys' system was, and then I was happy to, what do you call that? Like nod presently.
Sure.
And then come in where it felt appropriate. But then
I know,
you
but
asked
that's
me
what
the
awkward
question.
because it's like sometimes we've tried it and the guest never comes in for the whole episode.
They
Then they
leave.
leave at the end.
Then they leave at
go,
the end.
Just so
and
you know, we were
wow,
joined.
what a great episode we just had.
And then remember in the beginning, I had the concept of like the guest would just sit there until we got to it.
Yeah.
And then like
that wasn't
sometimes we'd
fun
go
either.
too long and they would
Yeah.
sit and it was
They'd
awkward
be
and
like,
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
but yes, you're part of this.
Oh, thank you.
We were both at this party, and what I want to say to
Oh, the party, right, and the podcast for now.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
For this episode.
and a star-studded event, Todd
Yeah.
Berry birthday party,
Mm-hmm.
and
I didn't get an invite, you know?
yeah,
We had him on that podcast once.
we did.
Didn't
We
make
He
did.
any
doesn't have your
impression.
new email.
That's so true, yeah.
So I'm there, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn because it's so brief. But Jim Gaffigan, who I've talked to once in my life, love to have him on the pod. We've tried. He's busy forever.
Yeah.
He said calendar's booked for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And we saw each other, made eye contact. We've talked once at Gotham. We had a nice conversation. We were talking about Gad. You know the French comedian Gad?
No.
He's like the Seinfeld of France, and then he came here.
Oh, yeah.
Now is actively performing now in the U.S. or
He was like doing this whole. He had a Netflix show about.
Yeah, he did a
making
whole
it in the US,
thing, like-
and then he just like was like, nah,
Never mind, don't like
moved
it.
back to France,
Whoa.
Yeah.
where he's extremely famous.
okay.
And there was a lot of videos. I guess he stole a tremendous amount of like full chunks, not just little lines, but because this is in a different language. I think this happens more often.
Oh.
Where it would be
yeah,
like a
yeah.
whole Jerry Seinfeld bit, but instead of why do you get in the train but on the bus,
It'd be like, okay.
I was gonna try
Careful of our French fans.
yes,
Yeah.
and so we had a conversation. Jim was like, "Really, you stole?" And I was like, "You said from who?" And I was like, "From you, honestly." And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know." And he was like, "Hot book it," and so that's all. And this was like 3 years ago. And so I see Jim Gaffigan, and he's like headed out, and he just grabs me by the shoulders and goes, "The anti-Zionist," and then leaves the party. And I was like, "What?"
Oh, my God.
And I would call you immediately. It was
Wait, that is so funny.
and it wasn't angry per se. It was just like, there he is, the anti-Zionist.
And you had not spoken since, or you interacted since the French conversation.
Sure,
Yeah.
I sent him every day. I sent him a text that said
Yeah.
"From the river to the sea." But this is the downside.
You're listening to The Downside
The downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.
I
That's
just think
what's so crazy. That's so funny because I don't feel like you're like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel like the barometer is kind of crazy. Cause
he's on Twitter. I think the bottom line
Oh,
is
yeah.
like, if you're on my Instagram, you're like, oh, wow, he has no political opinions. If
Mhm.
you're on my Twitter, you're like, he's a radical.
He's a-
Yeah.
Then if you're on my
Talking
threads,
head.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's I just there's a certain degree where whenever something's authentic, it feels weird to do it across platforms. Do you know what I mean? Because it feels like
Oh, like it's a brand.
yeah, it's like let me just say it in let me just say it. Yeah, otherwise it feels like you're promoting it.
I understand.
It's like if you wrote like a loving anniversary post, and then you do it on Instagram with all the pictures, and then you recreate it on Twitter, and then you recreate it on Threads, and then you recreate it on
Yeah,
Facebook.
that feels bizarre.
Then who is it for?
I see.
So that's also me just being a coward, and I don't want to get hate mail every day on Instagram.
Lose followers, etc. And
no, I don't care about the losing followers. Never. Well, we're here with. What were you about to say?
Well, I have a question.
Please.
But it's not related to that.
That's fine.
It's more like material. So, well, you had asked me if I wanted a drink, and I said water would be great.
Oh my God, did I not get you a water?
Well, no, you did. No, Gianmarco, first you got a water bottle, or it could be yours. My question is this.
Did I get it and put it here?
Rolled under the couch. So for maybe like 3 minutes, I was eyeing this water bottle, and I was like, is that mine? And then Gianmarco talking about Gaffigan rolled it under the couch, and I was like, I don't know what my in is here, or whether this was yours all along.
No, that's yours.
Oh,
I got
you
it
asked
for
for
you.
it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm not offended. I'm really curious, and I wanted to clarify that before we moved forward.
No, I think that's an ADD thing.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Because I fixated.
No, me. Oh, I wasn't saying to you.
Oh.
I was like, I think that's a mental illness that you wanted water after asking for it.
Oh.
I meant that I think I had the thought to get the water.
Oh, sure.
And then I was like, and then I thought, here's what I'm going to talk about, and I forgot about it completely.
Oh, trust me, I understand, and I know that life. And I thought you meant that it was an ADD thing, and that I was hyper focusing on the water bottle, and I couldn't like.
No, you had every right to focus on the water bottle.
Oh,
I'm humiliated. I'm embarrassed that Russell didn't say anything. He just sat here.
Well,
I got 2 water bottles next to me.
I have all the waters.
To your credit, it's like not in your eye line. It's like nothing you were thinking about.
Right, no.
To Russell's credit, he never gets the guest anything ever. And
yeah, that's so true.
What a
yeah.
crick.
Yeah. To my credit, I'm not even in the title of this show. So
I love anytime there's a thought.
it's The Downside with Gianmarco Soresi. Who the fuck is that guy who's in every episode too?
And
Don't
on
know.
all the posters.
I know.
All
I
the posters
know, and
and
it's
the
because
sticker.
we had one conversation years ago, and I said, no, leave my name out of it. But that's fine.
You're the backbone.
That's
No, are
true.
you?
And I get that a lot from a lot of guests. They say that.
Wait a minute. Is Jim Gaffigan Zionist, or is he's just like
I don't know what his. I don't know.
being, a little cheeky?
I think he's a little cheeky. I don't know what his bottom line views are, but I think anyone, most people of that age, they're not going to be quite as
Right, I understand.
It's good. They're going to take some radicalization.
Yeah.
So again,
Yeah,
listen.
yeah.
I think anyone who was really upset with me would not have come up
And said,
embraced
"The
me and said,
anti-Zionist."
The anti-Zionist. They would go, that's the anti-Zionist.
You didn't find out either if he, because you had mentioned he sent you a message at one point,
He sent me a message,
like asking if you liked to drink.
He said,
Oh.
he said, like, do you like alcohol? And
You thought he was hacked.
I thought he was hacked, and then I thought, oh, maybe he has a new brand of something, and he's going to send I thought he was going to send me something because then he said,
Right.
what's a good address?
Like a Gaffigan with Gaffigan's Irish name?
Yeah, I guess so. Gaffigan whiskey
Wait, you gave him your address though.
for my new. I started not a PO box, but something like
Yeah.
that. So I would give him my real address though. I would trust
Yeah.
him.
What's not a PO box? Like a
PO box. There's like certain things that don't. It's at a UPS.
oh, I see.
So
I
it's
see.
safer, like from you can send it.
So
People
it's
don't-
like a different channel.
Yeah, it's
Or
instead of
system.
like where you would put APT, it's PMB.
Interesting.
What does PMB stand for? That's producer Chris
On it.
helping us with
I
trivia
can
now.
hear those thumbs.
And after that, what's the efficacy of the vaccine for COVID? So,
I know that one.
do you have ADD?
Oh yeah.
Diagnosed?
Yeah, since I was little.
really.
Really?
Yeah, like really bad.
What age did
It's getting
they
worse.
decide to test you?
Well, like 3 or 4.
Wow.
I was at the time I was at I'm laughing because basically I was in a Japanese preschool and my mom was obviously I don't remember this. My mom was telling me that like the teacher was telling them that I was having trouble following directions, and then my mom thought they were just being racist. But actually, and then they put me, ultimately they put me into like an English language kindergarten, and then I was getting the same.
Wait, so you were in first grade, you said?
No,
And
this
then
was like preschool, like
preschool.
pre-K, yeah.
So then they put you into kindergarten.
My dad, this is like separate, but basically, ultimately, when I was like 5, they put me in a English language kindergarten in Japan.
Okay.
But that was more like my dad wanted me to speak English well, so or like didn't want me to get bullied, blah 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 blah. So for different reasons, they like put me. My parents then moved me from Japanese preschool into English language kindergarten. But I was getting the same feedback about like paying attention and directions.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So I was little. Yeah.
So and you were born in Japan?
Yeah.
So were you like? Did you learn Japanese? Did you truly learn both languages at the same time?
No, I learned Japanese first. And then I learned, well, my dad, I had a nanny from the Philippines who spoke to me in English, and my dad spoke to me in English. And I like responded to them, but not in English. And then, and and then in I was 4, my mom says that I started to switch.
Really?
Yeah, but because I was around, or when they put me into that new, when they put me into the new kindergarten, that I started to want to like be like the other kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
And kids are weird like that. They're like malleable.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's as someone who's never been able to learn a second language. Not that I've given it a real try since high school. I'm so angry that my parents didn't take advantage of my brain being more the plasticity. Is it? Yeah, the sponge that it was.
Yeah,
Because I'm like, why wouldn't you teach someone 2 languages at that age?
right. Oh, if I have a kid, I'm teaching that kid Russian, even if it has nothing to do with anything Mandarin, right? I mean, I don't know. I think it's like, yeah, that's like when, right? You plug it, you upload into their brains.
Did you ever have any other language? What language did you take in school?
I took Spanish for like, the middle school, high school, but not.
You can't do any of it.
Not. I mean,
Yeah.
the main words I can recognize, but not like if someone were to talk for like 30 seconds, I would, unless it's simple phrases, I'm not going to get it.
That's like, right. I mean, did your parents speak other languages?
No. Lame.
I think it's like, I don't know. It just doesn't occur to people like naturally.
Yeah.
And I think it was a part of my life because of the specific context.
Did your parents, do you remember it all? Like, do they primarily speak Japanese to each other, or English to each other? Did they alternate?
Speak English because my dad speaks Japanese, but like he learned it as an adult, so it's pretty, like it's less natural to him.
Are you better at it than he is?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's got to be
Wow.
so crazy
It's
to watch your
That's
kid
so funny.
become better than you.
Yeah. Because they did it when they were
Yeah.
4.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
And they were like, I learned this better at 4 than you did.
There's no other skill that you learn at that 4 that you become better.
Yeah.
Like you're not like you don't like, I don't know, play baseball and your 4-year-old like is better than you.
Yeah, and then so they speak English to each other, and
And that must be tricky. So you were taking that class, and your mom, is your mom Japanese or
my mom she's half, but just like grew up there, so
half Japanese,
Yeah.
half
black.
okay.
Yeah,
And so she thought that they were being racist.
yeah, because that is something there in Japan. People are
As
really
opposed to America where it's
where there's no
not a problem.
yeah, we've solved that 50 years ago. So yeah, like they like apparently I had one really nice and like supportive preschool teacher. Then there was another one who was less patient with me and like was complaining about me or just like, giving reports about how I wasn't following directions. So then my mom was like, "Oh, she's discriminating," but actually. Yeah.
Were there any other kids when you were in school in Japan that were black at all?
Not to my memory. I mean, definitely. I mean, not when I was. Actually, no. When I was in English language school, yeah, there were a few, but yes. So like when I was little, I don't even remember, but definitely not. Like the pictures of that are just like me and a million Japanese kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then when I was a little older and I was in like kindergarten, that was English language. I remember this kid. this is I don't really like I've his name, he went by T-Rex, and he was his family, I don't know why they're in Japan.
Japanese name.
Yeah, and he was this like little black kid, and I remember that, and my mom took me to his, like they were like, hey, if you want to have your daughter's hair braided, we know this lady, because there's like a network of black people even in the late or early 90s, right? So that were like doing that kind of thing, like maintenance. So my mom said that I cried for hours because I just wasn't used to it. So anyway, I remember that's like my memory about this one kid. But I feel like then when I was older, in grade school, I don't remember that many black kids. There were many mixed Japanese kids, but no, I don't think I had any in my grade, at least when I was older, like 1st through 3rd grade. I don't think I was friends with any black kids that were at my school. They went to other, like there was like the American school in Japan where there were more black kids.
I don't know if this question has any real answer, but how is there any difference between the way racism is expressed in Japan versus America?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell me,
Want to
Russell.
speak to
Russell
this?
first.
Oh no,
And
I was
then
saying
you.
that's a good
Oh.
question. That's an
Take a
interesting
guess.
question.
Like, what do you think? Like, just based on what you know about Japanese people.
I don't know.
What-
I don't know if
You wanna take a
be-
stab?
5
That's
minutes. We'll
right.
set a timer.
Yeah.
You keep talking for
5 minutes, and then if you
You guess it, you-
guess, yeah, then we'll extend it to 10 minutes.
I have a lot of feelings about it. It's this. One is like, okay, obviously in the United States, we have anti-discrimination laws because we had to, like, out of necessity. That system, or like that didn't exist. That does not exist in Japan because it's relatively mono. What's the word I'm thinking of? Like everybody essentially is similar ethnically, right?
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Japan. Mono ethnic. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like people, like obviously Japan has diversity in terms of like the indigenous communities and stuff, but essentially Japan is a small island nation where a lot of people are very similar ethnically, and therefore Japan went through obviously some things in the 20th century, but not like a big social upheaval over race. Like obviously the U.S. and like our specific relationship to black-white relations shaped our laws. Like so in America, obviously you can't be like, you can't come into this bar. In Japan, they bar foreigners from bars and stuff like that. Typically these days, it's like if it's like a bar, late night, so maybe like a strip club or like a small kind of mom and pop shop, and they frame it like, oh, we don't have an English menu, like.
Oh, they
that.
find like
Sure.
kind of like excuse passive.
Yeah,
kind of
but
like,
that is okay. Like that's, I don't know if I'm wrong. Forgive me, but I think that's not illegal, basically.
Sure. So if I'm getting it right, like because America was more multiracial, frankly, we had more systemic racist policies that then had to be corrected or adjusted or new laws
laws.
made.
Right.
But in Japan, there was never a need
Right.
for either side of that.
Right.
So it just is kind of like just
Yeah.
as you go.
Like, and then yeah, exactly. So that I have two thoughts about that. One is like, I remember, when I have a memory of this, I was like 10-ish. So I was with my dad and my Filipino babysitter, and we tried to order these like grilled chicken sticks from a truck, and the woman said no, and then served it to somebody else. So I have a memory of that, and that was like pretty explicit. Like maybe just, I don't think she even said anything, just kind of like waved us off or whatever. But when people they'll say like no, or like and that's not like, that's pretty frowned upon, obviously, but it just happens, and it definitely happened in the 90s.
Yeah.
But and now I think it's like the stories I hear about that are more like, let's say like a bunch of like drunk British guys try to go into a bar really late, and the owner just doesn't want to deal with it, so they're like, no English.
Yeah.
But so like, have you guys heard of love hotels?
no.
Oh, yeah, I think that's like, where you put in a quarter and the bed shakes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know those.
You've like it's like
If you're lucky.
a fuck motel.
Yeah, fuck motel. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really common in Japan.
Oh, they are okay.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, used to see them in like '90s movies.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
when they were like as a joke going to
Right,
like a cheap motel.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've always wanted to see one in real life.
You never brought your wife to?
So I don't know, dude. I mean, I'm sure they exist. They don't seem like they're that often around here.
I don't know. Is it? I don't know if it's such an American.
Have you been to one?
Just in my dreams.
Yeah.
No, but
Like they
no,
have the heart-shaped hot tub.
Right. That whole.
And
yeah.
like in the bed, shakes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you got the impression that the shaking was one of those. It doesn't really do much.
Yeah.
It's
For a
cool for 2
sensation.
seconds. Yeah, and then you're like, okay, this is.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just.
It sounds dizzying, honestly. But that is, yeah, you're like exactly that whole thing where you put it. Well, it's like in Japan, the whole idea is that people. Maybe they live in apartments within walls, or they live in a multi-generational home. So,
Is that part of it? That
yeah, right. So then it's like, to like hook up with a coworker or whomever or whatever, or you like meet somebody out. It's way more common in cities in Japan than here, to my knowledge. Just a love hotel; they're everywhere. But
Oh my god! If you had to go to a hotel every time you made love,
Oh my god. Well, they must be not that expensive, right?
no, they're right, and you can get it for a few hours. My point is that
Oh my
I know that they're like Japan's pretty secular, and I would say in terms of countries in East Asia is like pretty good about LGBT stuff, but like the certain ones don't let in like 2 men or 2 women,
Oh.
They're just like no, but like that. Sure, you might see that. You just like
you know what's funny about that is that here in America, I feel like the people who are anti-LGBTQ are usually Christian or some kind of religion.
Yes, yeah.
So they would never own a fuck hotel
Yeah.
to begin with.
Right, exactly.
Fuck, generally here,
Yeah.
if you operate any kind of sex place,
Right.
I don't think there's many sex places in America, and I could be wrong, that are anti-LGBTQ. Because like
Right,
sex
right,
and
that's a
religion
good point.
and religion and homophobia are
Yeah.
also tied together.
Yeah.
And I think Japan's relationship to homophobia and like patriarchy, whatever that means.
I
This
just
context
love the
is
idea of a
different.
bet like this, and they're like, "Sorry, get that gay shit out of here.
Get that.
Come
No,
put that
no,
quarter
no.
in
We
here."
need-
So
There's
good.
like a
man and
Hello
woman
Kitty curtain
jiggling.
and a pirate ship. Like they're all. That's the funny thing is they're all pretty elaborately outfitted, or some of them can be.
Also,
Yeah.
isn't there like machines with panties
Yeah,
there?
that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, in Japan, yeah, I think Japan is pretty like everything's evolving, but like historically is a society that has to pay a lot of attention to social protocol or like societal protocol.
Uh-huh.
Like, and that to my earlier point is like it's not about faith; it's about like Confucianism. Like we have to respect the elder or the man or whatever. So there's an order to society, and it's also like pretty collectivist. It's like we all collectively follow the way that society has to be. So like sexuality, I think in Japan is nuts because it kind of is it's like the reason the comedy there is really slapstick and zany. It's like people running around with like butts on their heads. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like the game shows. It just embodies a part of it, like represents a part of Japanese society and culture that's like I think it's like a reaction or something.
Like rebelling a little bit against
So the
that kind of
panty
structure.
stuff and the fact that there's so many kinds of sex services, and this is separate from love hotels, which are just kind of like, oh, I have a crush on my coworker. We went out drinking and we went to this hotel, which is like pretty
Yeah.
relatively like ho hum. I think the sex services in Japan, like where you can buy panties or people. Okay, so
And they covered all this in kindergarten.
yeah, right. This was the Japanese language curriculum before.
Okay, but can I ask? So, because you talk about the like honoring the elders, and I think, and again, I feel like in America, the whole panty vending machine or anything sexual. I know we were talking about race in Japan, and Russell said panties machine, but.
I feel like you just mentioned on a recent episode. That's why I was thinking of it.
No, I was thinking about it. I said save it for after the racial conversation.
I
No,
literally
you
was like,
couldn't
on the
hold back.
last episode, you mentioned the vending machines in Japan.
So let me just say up front, I'm going to Japan soon.
You are?
Yeah, I'm just going to do like shows, but I'm going to stay there
Where?
for 4 days. Just Tokyo.
Tokyo
I'm going to be in
Comedy Bar?
Australia. Yeah, comedy bar. And
Awesome.
I was really into manga and anime, and at a weird place where like even though it was the boom in America, no one at my school was into it.
Oh, really?
So it was like a very like private, like I watched like subtitled Dragon Ball GT uncensored, and like even that moment you got to see the way sex was treated differently, because I'd be watching what is a kids cartoon, and Master Rishi, who I just got a watch of, like, you know, Bulma would show boobs and blood would come flying out of his nose. He'd go flying backwards. And I was so, you know, I was a 7th grade, 8th grade.
Yeah.
And I had a piece of paper on my desk. And like every time Goku said fuck, I would like make a notch, because I just thought it was fascinating.
Right.
Every time I saw Bulma's titties, I had this sheet for no one, like an American censor. They should have hired me to censor for the American version. But it was so thrilling to basically see a different world that didn't have the exact same values, and I could enjoy this thing.
Interesting. Well, you'll have a feast.
Yeah, I mean, animated titties everywhere.
Well, do you know where in Tokyo you're staying? Generally, the neighborhood?
No, not yet. I'll write you before. It's not until August.
Oh, awesome. It's gonna be hot.
I've heard it gets hot, but
there's air conditioning.
But the honoring of the elders is the sexual stuff just not considered dishonoring them? Because in America they go,
question.
Your grandma, you're buying these panties in the vending machine. Your grandma would be ashamed of you.
I think it is. I think that does exist. I think it is. I think being like a deviant, sexual deviant or whatever is, or like partaking in services that are also pretty out in the open, fairly, like advertisements for them at least. I think that is disrespecting your elders, but maybe it's like a different kind of disrespect. It's less about it's more about like decorum. I don't know. Maybe that is also pretty Western.
But like
decorum and like privacy than God or something.
I don't think it's like just the stereotype, but porn is the blurred. The genitals are blurred.
Yeah.
You ever click on one of those and go like, no?
I don't click on them.
You don't click on them.
Oh, waste my time.
But that's like you got fuck hotels, but you got the porn.
Yeah. That's why it's.
We got It's
there's like a weird. It's like these elements conflict. Like, for example, like Japan. Yeah, like, so the blurring, I feel like, is because of a certain level. I know, people will obviously wear a lot of short skirts in Tokyo and Japan, but in general, people dress a little bit more conservatively. Like, you won't see someone wearing like a crop top or like their nipple showing through a t-shirt in the West or in an American city. You might you don't really think of it, right?
Yeah.
People like in Japan, it's like you don't have a bra strap showing because that's indecent. But then, and that's like probably what the blurring is about, like some idea of like how to hold yourself and what is appropriate to be out in the open and what is not. But then at the same time, like, I don't know, at the same time, like, the most common, people often dry their clothes instead of put them in a dryer, like on their balconies. So people are stealing panties like all the time. It's just, that is also God. People laugh about it. People are aware of it, right? Yeah. I don't know.
Because that's like, I just remember that from the anime. There was a manga I was into called GTO, and it was just like the main character. The whole thing is he's like a pervert, and in a way that, especially in a post Me Too world, it would just be shocking the things that his antics, and stealing panties and just being like, please let me see a peek of your panties, please, or the cameras under the skirts was like, you rascal.
Right.
You rascal.
In fact, that is like, okay, there's this one, maybe it was maybe the 80s. It's one that I've just discovered on YouTube since. It's called Obochama-kun, and it's like for kids, I think. It's but
you like swipe or no swiping, but it's the panties off the string.
Yeah, right. And it's like this. There's an episode. It's like a little rich kid, basically, kind of like a Dennis the Menace, but in this like really, really like cursed and inane like anime context. But it's really fun. And so the point is that this one kid, the main character, he like. He loses his penis because he's sick or something, or he takes something and his penis gets really big, and so all these Chinese medicine doctors come and they feed him something and it gets smaller and smaller, but then it disappears. So then the answer, and this is all like just it's like you know.
Are you seeing it, or is
Yeah,
it just
yeah,
like
yeah.
in the pants coming?
No, you're seeing it. His like nude little flesh
Oh
child
my
body.
When it gets
God.
bigger, does it get like
Pink.
is it
Like
like
it's
adult, like
balls.
it's veins and
Oh, I think it's no. It's just like pinkish, like big balls, and then then they retreat. They look like they're receding into his body, and then everyone's like, oh, and then it just disappears so that you see nothing. It's
Oh,
just
no.
flesh, right? Like a Ken, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and then
like the Matrix when the mouth closes.
yeah,
and it
like
gets
that
flat.
exactly. It's like that. So
Yeah.
then the logical, like, what happens in the episode is that everyone's like, okay, well, from now on, we must see him as a girl. So then his father is like, well, now you're my daughter. So
Oh my
for the
God.
rest of the episode, he's like, essentially in drag.
If you did that in America,
Yeah,
there'd
yeah,
be
yeah.
riots
what
in the
is he-
streets.
But how does the kid feel about all this?
He's just, here's the thing. It's like not, it's like, he's like, okay, I'm a girl now. I'm a girl, and he's like
Wow.
wearing makeup. That's something different. That's like not very American. I don't really know what that
Ben
is.
Shapiro would shoot himself on film.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh
it would
my
be.
God.
We would never hear it.
We would never
Disney
hear the
has
end
two
of it.
girls kiss,
Yeah.
and they write a documentary about it.
That's
Right.
what's crazy. It's such a weird mix of like we're so weird and conservative in some
Yeah.
ways, and then like it's funny to have a society that's a little bit more conservative in some ways, but then
Right.
like
Right.
wild.
Because like exactly. So in this episode, what happens is that then boys that he's friends with start like developing like crush. Like this one kid is like, oh, I have a crush on him,
Oh
and
my-
then
Still a
but
little
it's-
heteronormative.
yeah.
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 Oh, true. But then like right now that he's a girl. Anyway,
Yeah,
at the
would it-
end,
if it wasn't, one of the boys would be like, "Oh, I missed that big fat cock you had
that
2
dick
episodes
you had."
ago."
No, I'm assuming this is all one episode though.
yeah, it's one episode,
Yeah.
and it's relatively contained. At the end, he gets his penis back, but it's like you see it all, and he's wearing a big skirt, and like his panties come off because he's coming out of an airplane. You know, whatever. So, of course,
This is
And
a
so
kid
then-
show for sure,
I think, or at least it's like,
or it's hentai and it's the most fucked up.
So, but this stuff is just so out in the open, like
That's
in
wild.
one way, but and in many ways, Japanese society is very conservative because it's like you have to. First of all, it's not very tactile. People don't really. It's not really a big hugging culture. Couples hold hands and stuff, right? But
Well,
like,
I think per your point about like the people in the Midwest, you know, they'd be having their tits out or their
Yeah.
stomach showing. It's kind of like, well, every society is fucked up around sex and creates like these incredible things that don't make sense together, but it just becomes custom. The same way that in America, you know, they're super sensitive about certain things.
Right.
Then you go to a football game and you see cheerleaders,
Like
you know, landing
bouncing
with
around.
their crotches in their
Yeah,
faces.
yeah,
and you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, that's crazy too.
yeah, it is crazy.
It's all just a crazy.
I think it's like that's an interesting point. Societies in different ways obsess and try to navigate like the body and how we feel about insects. And I think that
And looking at it from afar, you're like, you guys are insane.
Right.
The same way you could look at America and go like, this is insane.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. I'm
Well,
intrigued by
we'll
this
put a link-
cartoon,
well,
though.
yeah.
that is.
I'll find that
so
cartoon.
wild. I'm like, just want to know what other episodes are like because
they're
like
nuts.
that's just one episode. And
Nuts.
you're like,
They all have
that's
nuts in
crazy.
them. They get bigger. and
I just
smaller.
imagine that writer's room. They're just like, what if this little boy?
His like butt
with
is
huge
always
dick
out, and
then
you see
turns
his
in-
penis a lot.
Wow.
Because I one of the animes I liked growing up was called, I think it was called Ranma 1/2.
Oh,
And it was like whenever he got water on him, he turned into a girl and like a hot girl.
Oh, yeah.
And then when like and then we go water the other way around, and not girl, woman and man.
Yeah.
And you know, the show was like filled with. It's so crazy to look back and be like, well, of course I never really questioned if anyone wanted to be trans. I grew up just because of anime and manga with like very progressive views about gender, or just like, yeah, the water magically changes it. And the whole show was like, when he became a woman, everyone wanted to fuck her, and then when he became a man, then he would fight. And it was
interesting.
anime and manga.
Apparently More fluid. Well, you're gonna have fun.
Yeah.
How long are you there for?
I feel like it's sadly only like 5 or 6 days.
Okay.
And one day I'll do like a 2-week trip, but I just felt I was in Australia and I've always wanted to go.
Oh, yeah.
And you
That's
can
perfect.
die any day. And I was just like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it.
Yeah. Are you like? Is that your layover at Japan, or do you have to stop somewhere else on the way to Australia?
No, so I go to a couple dates in Australia. We'll link to all of these in the comments. And then I go to New Zealand for like 2 days.
Oh, awesome.
And then I'm gonna go to Japan. It's cool, but it is like this is what I did in Europe last year, where I was in one day in each place, and I'm doing longer this time, like
okay.
3. But it's hard on the body. It's
Sure,
just
it
hard.
is.
It's just. But by the time I get to Japan, I think my clock will have adjusted a little bit, and I'm just gonna eat,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna do things.
Isn't there like
so
a really
excited.
cool like show with robots?
Oh
there?
yeah, it's a bit.
Yeah. Or
I
is
don't
it-
know if it's a bit touristy, but it could be really fun.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
in
yeah.
Harajuku, which is a really interesting area to walk around.
I
like
think he'll like it though.
Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
might like it. And
I think,
you should go to
like,
a bookstore.
It's so far. It's so different that the touristy stuff will still
Yeah,
feel
that makes sense.
cool.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
me.
and I also like it's really fun to lean into that.
Yeah.
And that area has a lot going on, like interesting street fashion and interesting little places to explore.
Was anime and manga any part of your childhood?
Honestly, just in the ones that were on TV. Like, I don't think that I had a particularly like expert. Like, I didn't like dive in any way. It was just what was available to kids in Japan in the 90s. So like,
Sure.
like Doraemon or Doraemon, the like blue cat without ears.
Okay, I've seen. I
Yeah.
know that figure.
Or like
but I don't think-
Shin-chan is this other little kid. Yeah, like that. It's just like stuff that was on TV.
So
when did you move?
yeah,
When we finally moved to the U.S. when I was in 9th grade.
Oh wow.
that's so jarring. What was it?
That's
How did
It
you
was
crazy.
feel?
bad. Oh, I was bad.
Were you sad? Like when they told
Yeah.
you? Did you cry?
I like cried.
That's so. I mean,
because sorry.
middle school and like you had friends. And then to be like, oh, we're moving to a different country, like so far
Yeah.
away.
I was not happy if like also because it was also at a time where a lot of people obviously kids are becoming more independent, but because of the timing, I'm pretty shy, even though I was like I was like loved by my friends at my school in Japan, which is English language, like small international school in middle school, early high school, like early 9th grade. But then when we moved, I just felt really emotionally dependent on my parents because like I didn't feel like I felt so thrown out of my comfort zone.
Sure.
And so I would cry.
Did you beg them to stay? Was it a work thing?
No,
I
it was my
imagine?
mom's work thing. I don't
Yeah.
think I begged them to stay, but I remember that we were supposed to leave the summer before 9th grade, and then for my mom's work stuff, we had to stay another half year. So then I got to like have an awesome first semester of 9th grade in Japan with my friends. And in Japan, Tokyo, you have a lot of independence as a teenager because you can just like take the train everywhere, and people do this all the time.
Sure.
And then we went to like suburbs of Philly. It was a big public school, and I like was really like I cried during lunch, and I would like sit in the bathroom and like
Oh,
Oh my
kind of
god.
stuff.
did you? When you left, did you do the thing like was there any sort of were you trying to keep in contact with friends at all?
Yeah.
there, or
You know,
did that with
that's
the work?
Yes. You know how here people had AIM?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like AIM is like the standard, like the U.S. standards, like every MSN Messenger is the metric system because everywhere else had MSN Messenger. Does that
Sure.
make sense?
Oh, I
Sure.
see.
So yeah. Anyway, I used MSN Messenger.
Got it.
And so I would be up at weird hours messaging with my friends in Japan.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
Oh, that's
time difference.
heartbreaking.
Oh,
I know, isn't that sad? I turned
Just
out.
imagining into that public school being
Okay.
like, "Where's your panty vending machine?"
Yeah.
I know. Oh man,
Yeah,
that
right?
new school thing is so jarring.
Did you move?
But I moved like 30 minutes from where I went to middle. I'm elementary school and then I moved in middle school, so it was like my first day of
Oh
middle
yeah,
school.
that's
But
rough.
I have such a vivid, you like don't remember certain things, but I have such a vivid memory of that first day in a new school and being middle school and being like, oh, you don't know anyone, and it's middle school too, so it's a big deal all of a sudden,
Brutal.
and it just is.
Was there anyone there from Japan?
You know what? Yeah, sophomore year, there were 2 like international students, and at that point, I was like starting to feel more settled because of theater. So I like
God.
my little
Yeah.
that was like probably my saving
Yeah.
grace. But anyway, around that time, yeah, there were 2 Japanese girls that were there, and then so I like talked to them and hung out with them, and there was this one Korean student, and we really bonded, like extremely bonded. And then my junior year, there was this a Japanese student from Osaka who was doing like an exchange program, and we became super close. So at that point, I was feeling more settled anyway.
Mm.
But yeah, there was a sprinkling.
Were would you bring lunch to school?
Yeah.
Were your lunches like Japanese?
Yeah, and I would make them myself sometimes. Yeah.
And
love-
did kids go, what is that?
Well, I think they just thought I was or like I think it's like they were kind of like not rude about it, but they were just like puzzled or like oh, the what? Oh, that's so crazy. Wow, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And my closer friends were just kind of like, oh wow, you do this. I don't know. In a
'Cause
nice
my
way.
mom, we would go to, I think it was called Daruma. Is that a Japanese word?
Daruma, maybe.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
possible
I
it's
wasn't
okay?
going to add the accent,
Anyway,
but
yeah.
but because I was into, it's so just crazy the intersection of the culture where I was so into Pokemon that I wanted the Japanese cards, like because they were of Pokemon that were not released in America yet.
Oh, cool.
So like, and it was crazy. I collected them. I never played this game, but I collected them, put them in a sleeve, and it was like, it was cool with a couple people at school. And we would go to these Japanese markets, and we would always get like raw fish. This is why I got a lot of shit on an episode recently because every time I go to a comedy club, my rider, I ask for sashimi.
You do?
I do.
That's your rider?
That's my rider. It's sashimi.
Whoa! But it probably varies in quality.
That's what I said.
That's what they said. That's what they
That's what
said.
I said, depending on where he's
Where
going.
you are? Or
I'm
somewhere
like, you
in
might not
Michigan.
want that
What about
everywhere.
landlocked?
That's what we said. That's what I said. Not that the food is bad, but like it's a crazy thing to ask for in certain places.
Do you think it's like an energizing food for you? Like I kind of understand that.
I just feel like, and again, I've always almost purposely, and because I have trouble remembering it all, avoided thinking about nutrition. I just go, I eat healthy, and for my money,
Right.
I'm like raw fish. This is healthy.
Yeah, it's like
and I've
your
never looked
protein.
into that claim. I just assume it is. It's got enough. Meatiness to feel filling. And in my head, I do that thing where I go, fish don't feel as much pain as a cow. This is good.
This feels like something a rapper does.
Yeah?
I think you know what I mean.
I hope if I saw Eminem and he was like, sashimi? Is that sashimi?
Not Eminem necessarily.
Is always the first rapper he goes to. It's always.
No, like you know what I mean. Like a
Uh-oh. Oh, sorry. Those are my headphones. No, you're good.
oh, I don't know if Eminem is the vibe.
What rapper were you thinking of?
I don't
Lil Dicky?
know. No,
I like every time a rapper comes out, I only
What?
list white male rappers.
I don't think white rappers are. I mean, maybe they're ordering sashimi. I mean, like, actually, I wasn't even thinking about women at first, but like somebody like Megan. No, maybe
I
was
could see
thinking,
Meg Thee Stallion.
order sashimi. It feels like it's like high to luxury. Like if I'm in, why not go big or go home? But I'm curious because wait, do you eat it before you perform or after?
I usually have some before. I usually
Some
get like
during.
here's my order recently in San Diego.
That's just like that's your thing on stage is that
Like
you just,
Chappelle gives
that
out a
you have
cigarette.
chopsticks.
I got to.
It's a little time sensitive.
So my order for when I have a 2-show day, I
Okay.
get like a big order. I get edamame and miso
Nice.
soup.
Oh,
I get like 2 rolls and sashimi. And I
Okay.
usually before the first show, I keep it light. I'll do the edamame. I'll do the soup.
Okay, perfect.
And then maybe 1 roll, and then I come back, have some sashimi. Sometimes I leave a couple pieces of sashimi for after the show if I have a little hunger.
Put it in the refrigerator. Or you
No,
Leaving it
Treat.
right on out there. Leaving it right on
Really?
out there. Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Yeah, you know, it can stand a little bit.
sure.
I have yet to get sick.
Until I was gonna say there might be a moment.
Listen, one day I'll get sick and I'll go fight. I'll have the wings at the fucking club.
Or you'll put them in the. There's usually a mini fridge.
There's usually a mini fridge. That's just laziness on my part.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
Are you able to get your fix of Japanese food? Do you wish there was
New York is great for that because
Yeah?
there's so much. Where we were, like, because we moved to the suburbs of Philly. Out there's obviously Japanese stuff, and there's like a whole. There's like a big Japanese. There's like a not big, but it's like a beloved and like really well stocked Japanese supermarket near us that also does a lot of like programming. And my mom is really involved. My mom is like she's like one of the board members. She's like she's like newly has some kind of directorial role of the board of the Japanese Society of Greater Philadelphia. So there's a lot of stuff where there is like that I've had to attend where there's like Japanese food or good Japanese restaurants. But the reality is that there's just more Japanese people in New York City and
Sure.
also in Jersey. So more Japanese restaurants in New York are owned and run by Japanese people, as opposed to in Philly, it might be like Koreans run it, you know, or,
I
or
just feel
Thai
like
people.
I remember when sushi was, I feel like in the 90s, and maybe I'm wrong because I was a kid, but sushi, the way that
it was
a
douchey.
bad comedian would talk about you with your kale and your avocado
Yes,
toast.
Right,
yes.
right.
It was
That's
like,
what it was in the 90s.
oh, let me
yeah.
get some
Right.
sushi.
Oh, sushi. Oh, Mr.
Right.
Fancy Pants City Man.
Jerry Seinfeld going
know?
like, the
Seinfeld.
chopsticks. What's with the chopsticks?
Yeah.
Here's a
Right.
fork.
Yeah.
I always start with the chopsticks. I always start with the chopsticks.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Like I'll start with I'll eat with the chopsticks and then I go, this is taking too
Oh, then
damn
you go
long.
to well, you'll find in Japan
Yeah.
you can it's like most custom in like the elevated ways to eat it with your hands.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I
I-
fucking love that. I love eating with my hands.
Me too.
I love eating with my hands. I remember I went to what's Knights of the Round Table.
Renaissance Fair?
Renaissance.
Yeah.
No,
No,
but
medieval
like the show.
times.
Medieval times.
Mhm.
And I went to it in high school in Canada, and they give you that chicken bone. You're just like,
Calm down.
They don't have any silverware there, and
You
you,
went-
go, ah.
You went to high school in Canada,
No, I did a chorus thing in Canada.
and there was medieval times.
there was medieval times
I
there.
only gone to the one in Jersey, but I didn't know it was a global
Was it
it's
good?
global.
establishment.
I should go see it. I'm getting really back into wrestling and
Oh.
like entertainment, but in a meta way.
Sort of not ironic, but like I'm interested in the spectacle of what this is.
And also its role. Okay, this is so you know what kayfabe is.
No.
So
No.
kayfabe, and I'm going to get this definition sort of wrong, but it's kind of like the world of the fake world that wrestling purports itself to be is kayfabe. So the idea that like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin hate each other, that's like the kayfabe. And there was like a time where
I have
yes,
a question.
please,
What are you saying? K-fabe? Like F-A?
One word.
What does that mean?
FABE. Like the
K?
kayfabe
Does it
is.
stand for anything?
I don't think so. Could you look up kayfabe?
Kayfabe?
I feel like
Spell
when
it.
you hear somebody and you're like having a stroke, like
Yeah,
what?
spell it.
What is
Yeah,
it,
I've
the letter
never
K?
doubted my pronunciation more than having two
No,
people stare at me like
No, but just spell what you're saying.
KAYFABE.
Oh, kayfabe. Yeah, okay. But that must stand for something, right?
That sounds.
No, it's the concept.
That's the name of the world?
Yeah, let's get the exact definition from producer Chris over here.
Okay, so Wikipedia, although coined in the late 20th century, the origin story of kayfabe is uncertain. Some believe it is Carney code for be fake, as mentioned in the above quote, whereas others consider it an alteration of be fake that was formed in a way similar to, but not keeping with Pig Latin.
Great. Thank you.
Oh.
So great. I'm glad we found out the origins of the word. So here's what it means: is so like
Sorry.
so then what happened with I've been reading this book about Vince McMahon.
Okay. Cool.
And what's so funny? He started WWF and then WWE.
Oh, got it.
He inherited. I mean, he didn't start. He inherited.
He's
from
a
his
bad
father.
guy,
Got
right?
it.
Yeah, he's a lot.
Not
of
a good
problems.
guy,
He's
right?
out now. He's out
Of this plane or the WWE?
of the WWE.
The WWE.
He's always had lots of like things, but he basically there was I say allegedly since I might get it wrong. There was like a woman and she worked for him, but then he was like kind of passing her around and like do this, do
Oh.
that, and very vulgar texts.
I believe
like-
it. Anytime I saw him, he looked mean.
He looked mean.
Okay. I
But-
trust your judgment.
Yeah.
But so there was a time where some people thought wrestling was real. They're called marks, and then there's smarts. That's how they label people. A smart knows it's fake. A mark actually believes it. I think you could say the same thing about church, frankly. Like there's marks and there's smarts.
Or Borat, like satire.
Sure. Or like I did a prank today that we're taping this in April Fools, and like there's some people who think it's real, and there's some people who think it's fake, and they're both on the same world existing. So what happened is Vince McMahon, he didn't want to pay whatever fees you have to pay when you have athletics. Like you have to pay a certain amount of money to make sure there's a doctor on site because it's athletic, it's dangerous. So he actually, in order to get the rules changed so he didn't have to pay this fucking cost or this tax to the state, he said to them, hey guys, this isn't real athletic, this is entertainment. And because of that, it was revealed and there were like New York Times articles saying wrestling is fake. So suddenly the fake world kind of went away and the acknowledgement that this was all bullshit came to light. However, recently, and I think with the advent of social media, there is this new kind of what I would consider kayfabe of like the people the it's like reality TV where it's like, is it real or is it not
Right.
real? Or is it kind of real?
Got it.
And The Rock recently, after he had some like troubles with, they say he wanted Black Adam to become this big thing and it didn't succeed. His movie, he basically like hit kind of a rut. And now he's going back into wrestling. I think he's kind of like trying to fix whatever
Really?
happened with Vince McMahon. So he's suddenly on his Twitter, where he promotes his real human life projects and donating to Hawaii. He like is now writing sometimes in character as The Rock.
Oh.
And he posted a video where, you know, he's like hitting someone with a belt and it's fake blood and it doesn't really hurt. And it's acting. You can tell it's acting because, you know, but he's like pretending it's real for a second. And in the comments, you see some people who think it's real again and some people who know it's fake. And it's like,
So they're part of the same kayfabe, or no? The people kayfabe is the phenomenon or the community.
I think kayfabe, if it like, again, I haven't, but my understanding is it's like kayfabe is the imaginary world that
That
person
wrestling exists. That
Yeah.
it's like that. The
you're
Rock
buying into.
is fighting
Yeah.
with someone in that world.
So people are like, so some people are tapping. They're like tapping into the Rock's kayfabe. on
he's also
Twitter.
presenting it as if it's real
Right.
again.
Yeah.
But that's mixed in. It's from his human being Twitter account where he also, someone commented, said, it's so funny to think after he hit this guy with a belt and was like, fuck you, keep the cameras fucking rolling, that he then went to go record voiceover for Moana 2.
Yeah.
Like,
That is
so
funny.
it's,
Wait, is The Rock gonna fight people again?
yeah, oh
How
yeah.
old is
Like
he?
he's gonna get back in the ring?
Oh yeah.
He doesn't look
Wow.
any older than he did in 1995
That's
anyway.
An interesting.
Sometimes he looks so big
Yeah.
Yeah.
where you're like, he doesn't look quite as mobile as he once was. And I
Ah.
don't know what happens when you get that big and you get older. I saw some videos like it was like a world class a weightlifter guy, and he's old and he still has all this muscle, but he walks like this,
Like feebly.
he's feebly,
Whoa.
but he's huge.
Interesting.
And I don't know how do
Body.
you reduce the muscle as you get older. So we're a wrestling podcast now.
Yeah.
So medieval times.
Well, okay, wait. So the kayfabe. Wait. So I see. So it's like as you're becoming more drawn to like the magic or like the mystique of wrestling, etc. Something like the medieval times is appealing.
Well, yeah, I mean, medieval times is like I think like kayfabe for medieval times would be like if after the match the guy came out and he was like, "I really slew that dragon, didn't
Yeah.
I?"
Right.
We're
But I think it's more interesting because I think social media, which we interact with so much,
Yeah.
is becoming its own kind of kayfabe in that you don't know who's telling the truth on social media. What's a character? What's real? Is Logan Paul really mad at this guy, or are they friends outside of it? It's an imaginary world. We don't even know.
And like influencer stuff. So there's this expensive chic, like cool deodorant that I'm like, oh yeah, that totally got me, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I'll be, all my problems will go away if I get this like leather scented deodorant. So there's this like
Leather
ad.
scented?
Oh yeah, like leather, woodsy.
I smell like a dead cow.
Yeah, right. And it's like this girl who's like very attractive and talking to the camera and like wearing a matching workout outfit. She's like, this is so crazy, but I finished my workout at the spinning gym or whatever, and then this woman tapped me on my shoulder and she was like, "Oh my god, what are you wearing? What's your perfume?" And she was like, "No, it's actually my deodorant." And then I was like, "Wow, this is so cute that they had these people do these like little anecdotes." And then of course, like a week later, there's like a different
you're
girl,
like, wow.
and
I remember I saw this commercial and I was like, oh my God, there was this leprechaun and
Right,
everyone wanted his Lucky Charms.
Wow.
But that is,
Yeah,
and
that's good.
advertisers take advantage of that. There was a thing where I guess there was some podcast where one of the women had slept with Matt Rife. And so they talked about it. And then she does this live stage show where she
a solo show about
kind of, where at the end she brings out like 6 other women who have slept with Matt Rife, and the crowd is going fucking nuts, and it's like wrestling.
What on earth? This is a pocket of culture and the internet that I don't even know.
But like what's so funny, it's like they don't all necessarily hate Matt Rife. Like, for all I know, they like Matt Rife texts them, they're like, hey, good work. Like, you're helping, we're both helping each other out.
Yeah, PR.
But it's the drama, and it's a little real. The same way in wrestling, two people might hate each other, but they do the match.
Okay, what do you think about those restaurants where the waitress, they're mean to you? You know, like those kind of, you like that?
Yeah, of course. You mean like an Italian kind of restaurant or like a
No, but like it's like their thing is like that they're rude. Not like they're actually rude. That's
You
again
meant like just rude Italians.
yeah.
not like a New York place that's
I
existed
realize
for a
that
long
came
time
up-
and they're actually rude.
You know
I'm
when they're
saying,
rude?
like,
Oh, you mean like the Wapkini
it's like-
Dagos where they're
it's
always
the point of it. It's again that thing where
Yeah.
it's like you go there. It's like medieval times, but it's just a normal restaurant. But the hook is that the wait staff is mean, and they're like,
Oh, that just sounds like.
they throw their food down and they're like, eat it, you fat pig.
I mean, yeah,
you know?
people are into that, right? Like
Yeah.
that just sounds like.
I want to bring my dad there and not tell him.
And,
and
but you
have
can
him
usually
is
tell.
my
That's the
fantasy.
thing is like
Like,
I
what
feel like you
else
can
wrong with
usually
the service?
tell. It's more impressive if they were like actually like making you feel bad.
I saw a video with an older woman, and like she's like, "Oh, is our table ready?" And she goes, "Yeah." She picks up the menus, throws them on the floor. Follow me.
Oh
And
yeah,
this old woman's
That's
like,
awesome.
"Oh my
oh my god,
It's
Oh
amazing.
my God.
My dad, unfortunately, I'd be like, "This is fun," and then he'd punch someone. I'd be
Yeah,
like, "All right, I should have
yeah.
told you up front."
he punches you.
He punches me.
That's interesting. Well, that sounds lucrative for the servers, depending on.
Yeah, I wonder if it's fun for them or if it's like kind of like sometimes that's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather just like serve this food and not have to be like put on a performance too. You know.
Fascinating. That sounds like something Japanese. Like it sounds like something really crafted.
The first time I did it, I think it was at like in Walt Disney World. There was a place that had that.
In Walt Disney World?
Yeah. But it was like it wasn't like they couldn't be crass, but they could kind of like make fun of you.
Can you imagine if Walt Disney made a roller coaster based on that children's cartoon from earlier? And it was just
Oh
like,
yeah.
it's like
Whoa!
the penis gets bigger and then you
Whoa.
get sucked inside.
Yeah.
I just think about, especially with those entertainment conglomerates, we're like, I'm sure Disney Plus is in Japan or they want to be in Japan. And
Yeah.
they're like, well, do we add this? Because then someone chose that cartoon with the Disney Plus logo and then they
Yeah, but
freak
now
out.
it's kind of chaos because like when I go to Disney Plus, I get my Hulu through there. Like it's like you
Oh,
know,
right.
like it's kind of like the FX, so it's all kind of mixed in already.
They're all. It's like I don't know. Yeah, they've combined forces in
Yeah.
ways I don't understand.
Yeah.
How to what to subscribe to.
it just feels like back in the day, you'd only see those Disney ears off, wholesome,
Yeah.
all for the
Yeah,
family.
but they have Indiana Jones, they have Star Wars. I mean, they have everything.
Because now is Simpsons on
Yeah, I think
Disney
I think
Plus?
Simpsons,
That's an example
is
of
on.
something
Yeah.
that's like a little more subversive.
So you have a master's in history.
Yes.
Do you think growing up in Japan, and I know you've been here since. I mean, like, have there been any longer stints back in Japan, or have you pretty much been in
Junior year of
America?
college. That's it.
Yeah.
I was back. Yeah, but basically as an adult, I've been in the U.S.
Do you think having lived in a wholly different place, you can see how slanted history is towards the
Oh.
people writing it? Like, do you think you
Sure.
have? I just feel like so much of getting older is realizing how all the history I was taught was light propaganda.
Right. Okay. That's an interesting question. I don't know if I've ever thought about this. I think that something about a lot of when you're studying history at an academic, like graduate level, is that you're essentially becoming like a diplomat of information, right? You like you're trained how to read like a primary source or a letter or whatever, or like an article about a primary source, and then kind of analyze that and dissect that with as little bias as possible. Like that's
Yeah.
the work of the historian, and then you like refashion that into some writing, and like that is the literal work of the historian. And so I guess you're like considering things from both sides. If you write a paper, obviously the best way to write it persuasively and professionally as a historian is whether you consider both sides. So I don't know. I think maybe being in Japan, maybe like you're forced to like consider things from different perspectives, I guess.
When you were studying, were you studying anything involving Japan, or like what was your focus?
No, because when I was in college, and this is when I was becoming interested in going to graduate school for history, just senior year. In college, I studied stuff related to Japan, like East Asian, whatever, like literature and like contemporary politics.
Yeah.
But then the classes that got me interested in history as a field, the one specific class, this was really random because I was in Hawaii, which has nothing to do with the French Revolution. But I mean, I could find 6 degrees. But the point is, like, there was a class that was like really hands-on about the Enlightenment and the French Revolution. And that was making me excited about how programs can like make history come to life and make it relatable and help people connect to something that has nothing to do with their world. And so then when I went to graduate school, which was in DC, what happened was that because of like, I got really interested in like colonial history in like the 16th and 17th centuries. And part of that was being in Hawaii, sure. But
is that when the Hawaii happened?
Well, yeah, they were British. Yeah. Like, you know, 18th century.
18th century, okay.
18th century. Definitely in the 18th century, a guy named James Cook like brought essentially British subjects. Like, yeah, it was like there was British military presence in the island of Hawaii. And ultimately it would obviously join as an American territory after the revolution. But the point is that in the 17th century, Hawaii was like a British colony. Or there was presence there.
Sure.
So that stuff and like learning about the monarchy there, even though that was later, like in the 19th century, learning about the Hawaiian monarchy in relationship to America got me kind of interested in, like empire or whatever. So like really interested in. So then when I was
Kamehameha.
Yeah.
He was part of that, right? Which is Goku in Dragon Ball Z, the big move is Kamehameha.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That's so funny.
And I just always remember seeing that name in school and being like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
There has to be something that Yeah.
That's so interesting. And like Japan's obsessed with Hawaii. So, like and like using that makes a lot of sense to me, basically.
Sure.
I would use his name. So then anyway, when I was in DC and I was in graduate school, the focus that I chose in my program was US 1, which is early American history, like the colonial period. Like Puritans through the Civil War, like the first half of, and that's like my shit. I get really excited about early American history. So the point is to answer your question, like maybe initially in the beginning, but I don't think so. Like maybe like Japan and the Pacific and the histories of those empires are what drew me to history, but my favorite thing to read about and write about and what I like learned to write about in graduate school is like colonial American history.
What's one like general overall thing that that you would say or specific that you wish or that Americans don't really seem to understand about our founding?
Oh yeah, I love this. Okay, so this is also, I think part of it is that it was pretty exotic, relatively like I didn't grow up learning about all of that like necessarily.
Sure.
Like
you didn't have like the same base level myths that we had of like you know, when I was a little kid, it'd be George Washington with the lie and the tree
and
right. All of that like kind of like it's sort of quaint like lore stuff, like you dress up as Frederick Douglass. I mean, he was later, but you know what I mean? Like
Halloween costume here.
Except wait, brief aside. So when I was in 3rd grade at Tokyo in Sacred Heart Tokyo International School, there was a black teacher who was a music teacher, Mr. Hendricks, and he had us for a recital for choir. He had us sing "Wade in the Water," which is like a Negro spiritual, and we would dress everybody, not just me, everybody dressed up as like an enslaved, like a girl. It was an all-girl school, English language. We like.
What was the outfit?
Like rags, whatever you use. Yeah, like bandana, and this I don't think would fly even there today.
Yeah,
but
sure.
This was
not makeup.
No.
So just the outfit,
just the makeup,
and then a bunch of little Japanese girls going.
mixed white girls,
Uh-huh. White
brown
girls too.
ones.
Jesus Christ.
Black, white, for the song.
That you got to get that that class photo or something. That could
yeah,
ruin a
it
lot
might
of
be
careers.
somewhere. Yeah.
You could blackmail. You could blackmail a lot of people. That's where the term blackmail came
they
from.
would do that all the time at like music festivals,
Oh.
like area all states. Not dress up, but we'd all the
Like
time
sing,
be
like a slave
all
hymn.
white choir singing
Like,
spirituals.
Like-
I definitely.
And some of them,
oh, the
like
North
the
Star?
lyrics were referencing directly.
Oh, wow.
Like there's one I have memorized because it's so crazy that I had to sing it that I can't sing it now.
What are the lyrics? Can you say them?
No.
Come on, say it. We'll put quotes around it.
I can't think of it now, but it's like there's too many songs going in my head. But if I think of it, I'll say them. But it's literally remember having to do it and do the motions like we were like working. Like it was like they like made us do like shovel like we were like, you know what I mean?
The
Like
room.
and there was not one. It was upstate New York. There was not. There was maybe one or two black people, but like that was it. It was mainly white children, and just like everyone watching that, no one being like, "What? Stop! Like in the audience, parents should have been raising their hands, being like, "Stop doing that right now! Stop!"
Oh my god.
Oh man.
That's so funny. Yeah, I don't know.
If you think of any lyrics,
I will. I'm gonna say it for just a minute.
Oh wait, so to answer your question, like also because my dad's from Philadelphia, we went to Philly every summer, so I was like aware of like kind of sort of whimsical Benjamin Franklin stuff, right? Like when I was a kid, like
Yeah,
as we
yeah,
come
yeah.
to Philly and we go to the museum, his
the
science
kite and the
museum.
key, and then
All
later
that.
you find out he was a real whore.
I love that about. Yes, exactly. And so then when I was like getting interested in early American history, something that I'm interested in is that there's this there's like a sort of like a knowledge gap, because basically when we're studying American history, we learn about like the Mayflower in 1619 when a ship brought Africans to Virginia, and like pilgrims and all that, and like Salem witch trials, like, and that's in the 17th century.
Yeah.
But then there's this kind of gap between, and then it's like, oh, and then the next big thing is the American Revolution, which is obviously that was like unfolding in the the upper 1700s, right? Like 1770s. And so the point is that there are all these like interesting forces that were happening in that gap, like colonies that were British colonies in North America becoming its own entity, like Virginia becoming Virginia, Pennsylvania becoming Pennsylvania, Massachusetts becoming Massachusetts, because each colony had a different like crop situation and a different relationship to the crown based on how much money they were making for the empire, whether it was sugar or tobacco or like cod, like in Rhode Island or whatever, which they didn't get any. Basically, like Rhode Island was also a Quaker colony, which meant that there was more distance between them and the crown, and they got like no. So this is kind of funny, like when the British Navy started to crack down on the North American colonies, there was like little naval protection in the small colonies that like Rhode Island or like North Carolina. And so anyway, so all this stuff is really interesting to me, because what you see is local governments that would soon become eventually become individual states as a state of the United States of America. The local colonial governments kind of like being like, well, they don't know what's happening here. Like, we want to get free indigo from pirates. Like, they have no say.
Sure.
They're not here. And then like we want to engage. Yeah. Like we want this cheap shipment of whatever. Like, we'll aid and abet pirates.
Yeah.
Like, so I call it the naughty colonist syndrome. It's like when, and that is like how you see the British hold over the American colonies start to unravel. And this is something like you don't really talk about in 6th grade civics class.
Sure.
No.
It's like my favorite. And you see this in different ways, and one avenue is piracy.
And so every place had their own, like, they don't fucking understand this. And then one day they gradually were like, hey, if we all band together.
Right.
Because what I always loved, like the Boston Tea Party, I tried to make a bit out of it, but it was one of those where Boston Tea Party was taught in schools as like this big moment of freedom. This is one of the big American myths, I think, is that the idea that it was just about like freedom, like a deep spiritual freedom.
Right.
And it was like, no, it's about money and it's about wanting to hold on to money, which is fine.
Right.
But it's about that. It's not about like the way George Bush said, they hate us for our freedom. Like it's that
Right,
like
right.
that in yeah. So the Boston Tea Party, at least what I read, it's taught in schools as like this moment of Americans becoming Americans.
Yeah.
And when it happened, George Washington called the Boston Tea Party people looters and rioters. And there's some deep degree of like
That's so funny.
and there's something so funny about it where I'm like, guys, the
like,
literal myth.
with a little like when we're removed fully, we can be like, wow, that's amazing that people stood up and they said fuck that, blah blah, blah. And then like
Now
when we're
someone
in
steals
real
the
time,
deodorant
like,
at CVS.
No, this is not the time.
yeah,
Not the time. Don't confront the president at his fundraiser. No, you know what I mean? Like fuck off.
Yeah.
Robbing a CVS is the most American thing you could do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, there is a parallel there. Yeah. Wait, are you still doing the bit?
No, I once in a while I'll throw it in there. It like here's the twist that was like so preachy and awful was it's just back then the people in authority were wearing red and now they wear blue, and it was and like
Boom.
you know it. First of all, it's preachy.
Yeah.
It's not that funny. It's just. And not everyone remembers that the British wore red coats,
Oh, sure.
and it's just a lot.
Yeah.
And it used to be the worst version I did was, I'm embarrassed to say it, but back then the authority wore red, and now they wore blue, and they only protect the whites.
Oh my God.
A full on,
Wow.
just a real smug. You could see me going as I wrote it down, like, oh
Red,
wow,
white,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
blue.
red, white, and blue. Take that, America.
That's good.
Sadly, I thought of the lyrics. I did remember them.
Great, I'm so happy.
Okay, I'm gonna say them. I'm not gonna sing it. And remind you, I did not. This was when you were a child, and I was in. I don't know if middle school, but it stuck with me because I remember thinking we should not be singing this. Okay, here are the lyrics: sun up to sundown, picking that cotton. Sun up to sundown, chains and shackles. Sun up to sundown, work for the master. No more auction block for me. No more auction block for me.
No.
There was motion. There was dancing with it. There was swang, and it was maybe one black child in the chorus, mainly white kids. And I just it was never a conversation. It was never like, hey, should we none of us raised our hands. Like, and also I'm
You're
older.
like, shouldn't we be singing from the master's perspective?
But crazy,
There's two sides
crazy.
to every
Also,
story.
you're like that music teacher in their minds thought they were doing a good thing.
Yes.
Right.
Because in their minds, they're like, oh, we should be talking about this. And they're not wrong. We should be talking about
Right.
it. But it's like a crazy, it's just like that's where people's heads were then
Right.
about like how we can,
Like-
so it's hard because you're like, I don't know.
Don't you think it's hard to know? I'm certainly not saying that was a good thing, but like you, in the process of like getting people to really see things, do you not have to awkwardly, clunkily, looking back, embarrassingly engage them?
Maybe
I don't
that's
know.
what happened.
Maybe
Yeah.
that is. I mean, that's it's just one of those things because I laugh about it now, and I remember thinking this is weird, but I'm also like, that area where I grew up is pretty racist, and there's not a lot of black people in the area where I grew up, and so you're like, I don't know, maybe this is like people there were like, what is this? And I don't know. But it is awkward and it's funny and you're like,
That's so funny. No auction block for me. I think that, maybe it's like from the teacher's perspective, they were like, well, this is how we honor the different voices in American history.
yeah.
I can
Like
see
through
the
our-
liberal people at your school being like, this is important.
Yeah,
But
right.
when you
right,
add a
right.
dance to it, though,
Oh my
I
God.
think that is where it tips
That's so
to be
funny.
really weird. Because I remember doing this. I was like, we were like doing this. Which is that how you pick cotton? I don't like. You know what I mean? You're like, why were we digging? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But I guess that's a more stronger dance move
Than
than like
crouching in the grass and
for the shackles was it?
You're hurting your hands.
No.
on the
Oh God.
shackle.
Oh man. Also, I remember no other songs from like all the kind of all county area, all state kind of like things. That's the only one that I still remember the tune and words to because I just was like, this is crazy.
Funny.
We're gonna go on to our next segment, Chris. Just so you know, if you ever like in that moment, you're like, I can download that song really quick and play it as the next music. You have my full permission to do so. But this has got to stop.
This has gotta stop.
This has got to stop.
Okay.
Do you want to go first? Do you have a this got to stop?
I have a this has got it.
Tell us.
Great.
Should I go first?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if I'm reading the assignment correctly, it's like essentially a gripe I have.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you let's say you like apologize for something relatively trivial, like you like don't notice that you have to hold the door open or something like that.
Yeah.
And or whatever, and then you're like, oh, sorry. Or even something more involved that you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. But then the person's response is, oh, you're good. That really aggravates me. The semantics of it, and it's like, no, I'm good. I'm not asking for your blessing. I'm good because I'm apologizing.
I see.
I'd way prefer like a, oh, no worries, or I understand. You're good is like, bitch, that's not really
I
like,
see.
does
Yeah,
that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah.
That's okay, or no
that's
worries.
okay.
It's describing like a feeling to you where you were just
They're saying that
like-
you didn't even need to do that, and like kind of being like, but like
They're like, oh,
like,
you
you're
don't need to
good.
be. I mean, maybe okay. So they're like, by saying you're good, it's like, no, I wasn't asking whether I was good. I was saying,
I was
I
saying-
acknowledge that I was in your way in the hallway.
yeah.
This isn't a matter of like my morality.
Sure.
It's just like a thing.
Is all good okay? Is it the your? If someone said all good,
because all good is like, oh, all good.
yeah.
Or oh, you're good is like,
I don't
no,
I don't like when someone doesn't acknowledge your like apology for something, because I've had that too, and I've
Oh.
redacted an apology one time to like a
or
stranger because I tried to apologize twice.
stranger.
Well, they ran into I ran into them or something happened on the street, and I was like, I'm sorry, and they were like, and then I was like, I'm sorry, because they seemed annoyed. And then they didn't accept the second one, and I said, "Never mind, I take it back. I'm not sorry." And because I was like, I just was like so annoyed that I was like, I'm trying to give you two genuine apologies for bumping into you, and you're being a bitch about it. So never mind, I take it back.
That is
I'm
funny.
redacting that apology
Sounds
from
like
you.
a curb.
I know, but I was like, it made me so
mad.
mad. I was like, fine, never mind. We don't get it. So now that's what I feel like happens a lot in New York. We were like, it's like
Oh.
you're also like it's we all get run into. You just
Yeah,
be
of
like,
course.
you're like, oh, no worries, or some kind of acknowledgement of that.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
I like your gumph.
Well, so that's my policy now too. I'll give you two genuine apologies, and then after that, I'm like, no, never mind. You don't get it.
When you first brought this up, I was imagining this was like an email back and forth with like a colleague. Or something.
No, it's
And I'm
strangers.
like- and I'm
No,
like,
I would. That
Three
would be
emails in a
I would-
row.
I'm much.
Sorry.
I can be much more direct with strangers than like people I know. I'd be
Oh,
like,
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll
there's
let them
20
run
times.
all over me.
I like that though.
Yeah.
Do you have this got to stop?
Yeah. Okay. On Twitter, when every so often we reevaluate old TV shows to the end of time, and there's nothing that we can enjoy anymore ever again, and it's just this cycle of like,
You're specifically talking about the Curb Your Enthusiasm tweet.
no, but I did see that too. But I just one of those things where it's every show that exists in like the history of time, where in 10 years. We're like, actually, this is why this show is a reflection of this time. You're like, yeah, everything is a reflection of its time. And you can watch it with a thoughtfulness of being like, oh, wow, that was made in 2011 and represents a lot of the issues in 2011 and still enjoy it on some level. It's just this thing where it feels like, what's the end? It doesn't, with the rest of my life, we're going to be reevaluating things from 10 years ago and being like, that's bad. And being like, okay. Do you know what I mean? Like
Russell only watches the 30 Rock blackface episode.
No, I'm
loop.
just saying.
That's all he watches.
I'm saying. I'm.
No, I know what you're saying.
And I'm also saying.
And it is pointless.
there's-
It's done. It was made and it's aired, and some
That's the
people will
thing.
revisit
I like
it.
that.
And I'm
whole
like,
episode
there are definitely like when it first started happening, you're like, oh yeah, oh.
Well, then it's crazy.
Oh, wow,
and
Friends
that,
was
that
blah, blah,
jokes
blah, blah.
was like a
Right.
huge
Like
part of
initially, and I feel like we've moved past that now, where it's like it's just a way to be like, this thing you enjoy, it's bad, and you're like, it's just not interesting because everything that we're watching now in 10 years we'll be able to say this is bad because of this.
Or like this was performative, even like. stuff
Yes,
today.
yes.
I think it's like you can remark on it, but I think it's more like it's bad as opposed to you can share old clips of Friends and be like, Jesus Christ, the whole episode was you're fat, and that was
Yeah.
the plot.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You can go, that's crazy, or isn't that silly?
Yeah.
But to go like that was bad.
That was
Like, yeah, that's what everyone did back then. And it's
Yeah.
more look at it like a history piece as
Yeah.
opposed to
Right.
like a current moral failing.
yeah.
Yeah. I dig that.
This has got to stop. I had a Soul Cycle class. I'm not going to go on my Soul Cycle rant this episode, but I have something for the next one. Big problem with Soul Cycle. They should let people take off their shirts, but
Oh,
they
they don't.
They don't. No nipple policy. That's not anywhere on the board. Listen. So they did happy someone. It was someone's birthday. And I feel like we do birthdays sometimes, and you don't know the person. And we need to make a birthday song where in that third line, we're not saying the name. Because what happens is you do it, and it goes like, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear. And then the energy of the room, it vanishes. You go, the most important part of the song, happy birthday to you. We all need to adjust where we do the happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to
Yeah.
you. I don't remember the name that you said one time
Right, 'cause
before
no
I
one
knew
knows.
we were going to the birthday. And
Yeah.
it's always just like an awkward where the song is deflated and weird, and it never reaches back to the energy you started out
Yeah.
with.
That's
It
so
just peters
funny.
out. So that's why this got to stop.
Yeah.
In general, if it's a public setting and you don't all know each other, we all need to go to the happy birthday version.
Yeah.
Huh. Right. That's like
Birthday,
insurance.
happy birthday.
It's
Yeah.
like it's like a safety net.
Yeah.
Like a code.
Yeah.
If you just sing that version,
Yeah.
there's no awkwardness. Does anybody laugh about the moment?
That's the thing. It's one of those where it's like you look around and you go,
That's so sad.
we don't fully know. And it's just one of those. I mean, there's so many. I remember in school there was a long time, and I'm sure I was doing it too, where you go, "Happy birthday to cha cha cha."
Oh yeah.
Oh
I
God,
know that. I know
you
that
never did the cha cha
No.
cha. How?
Yeah.
Where does it come in? Happy birthday to you. Happy
version.
birthday.
At the end, maybe at the end.
Birthday.
No.
I feel like there were different. There was some version where people added this
Cha-cha-cha.
thing, or then they had a second thing that they added onto
I think
the
it was at
song.
the end.
And then some people were like, "Well, let's do the other version. Happy birthday
Oh, yeah.
to you."
Yeah.
I don't like any of the additions.
What is
we?
in Japan? What is Happy Birthday? What's the song?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
It sounds like when you do it in a Japanese accent
Yeah,
to make
yeah.
people laugh. Let's go to our final segment.
You better count your blessings.
You better count your blessing. Russell, you got a blessing.
Yeah, we had a Debbie Downsider come to Titanic this weekend. Jolene from Philly, so sweet and supportive and kind, and just a special shout out to Jolene from Philly. That was very nice, and I'm glad that you saw the show Titanic.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Someone came up to my blessing. Someone came up to me after a show in San Diego, and they said they had seen me the year before with a friend of theirs who had recently passed away from cancer. And they said that they were like, and this my friend was watching your videos, even in her final days.
Really?
It was very.
Oh my God.
Wow.
It was very. It's so. I think what's jarring about it is it feels. I wouldn't say good, but you feel like, oh wow, that's. It's one of those things where I make my art for selfish reasons. I make it because I want to.
Right.
And
Yeah,
then
it's-
when you hear someone retroactively being like, you saved my life.
Yeah.
You're like,
Wow.
you're like, well, to be honest, if making my art made you kill yourself, I'd still make it because that's why
Yeah.
I'm doing it for myself.
Well-
so it's this weird feeling of like, this is nice, but I don't deserve your praise, but it feels good.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about this because do you ever, or both of you, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, there's no part of me that does, like when I'm on stage for Titanic, there's no part of me that gives a shit about like making someone's day better. You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
there's
yes,
no
yes, yes.
part of me that it's like, oh, God, that's why I do it. You know, people say that.
Yeah,
They're like, this is why I do it. And I'm like, there's no part of me that's in bed being like, people need me today. Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, there's like, they don't need me. It's fine. It's a nice thing, but I like their laughs. And that makes me feel good
Yeah.
when I hear their laughs. And I need them more than they need me. I think. And I think, but like, I just don't believe people a lot of times when they think that they're doing it like as a performer for the people.
I think I think what happens with like celebrities sometimes is they hear enough times like, you helped me through cancer, you helped me not kill myself. And they start going like, wow, I am important. Where it's like, you have to remember they could have found someone else.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the part that I do try to like take in is I'm just like, oh wow, this meant something to you.
Yes.
And this moment where you're sharing this with me, it means something to you. And I'm able to, for a moment in this very selfish work world, like in this moment, make you feel good. I try to take it in. I try to take some smidgen without going, I'm important.
Yes. Yeah.
But still taking it in and still
Yeah.
going like,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
That's amazing.
That I do this
Yeah.
thing that, yeah. So, but to that person who came about the show, I appreciate you sharing that with me, and I'm glad.
Well, mine, the one that I was considering initially does not have as much gravitas.
That's okay.
That's okay.
We don't need it. Doesn't need to be
But
that.
I think I have like 1.5 ones.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So, well, this is just like basically my half one is that I live really close to my train station, and I won't say which, but I live like so close to it.
Oh,
and
that's
it
great.
really is a blessing. It makes my life so much easier.
Yes.
If I get home late from spots, I just have to cross the street and go home. It's like made my experience of New York a lot easier, and it makes me feel grateful for that happy accident. And then the other thing that's like more meaningful, well, this is cool. It's just like a cool thing. Basically, I was in Idaho. I was in Idaho for a few days for a festival, and then by essentially an accident, like one headliner on the festival, I was headlining some small rooms, and then Mark Maron replaced whoever was doing it before then. And then I was asked to open for Mark Maron, and I had never met him
That's so
or
cool.
even seen him live. And so I got to have a cool experience
It's amazing.
where I got to meet him and see him live in the same night, and it was so fun. It was so like exactly how I guess I imagined, and I later learned that he had picked me actually. So
Yeah?
so
Oh,
it
that's
all
awesome.
felt like such an accident, but a real blessing that made me feel really like energized, and like I had been like a few years ago, I would not have been ready for the opportunity necessarily, or as comfortable in a big theater.
Yeah.
I think I feel like I have become so over the past year or so. And in this moment, I felt really ready for it. And that felt great, like empowering. And we talked for about 10 minutes before the show about like migration patterns to the Midwest.
Really?
Yeah. And then, and so then he did this cool thing where I guess he likes to be the voice of God. So he likes to bring on the opener.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, it's Mark. He's going to come. Or no, he said, hey, guys. It's like a huge, beautiful theater. He's like, Mark's going to be out in a second, blah, blah, blah. So then he introduced me. And then after my set, I had to be whisked off because I was headlining like a small room somewhere. So I was like taken to do my own thing.
Oh yeah.
And then I was kind of bummed because I was like, oh, I'd like to shoot. I wanted to see.
Yeah.
And then the producer was like, well, he might do like 90 minutes. If you want to do 20 minutes instead of 30, that's fine with me. Like, because
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So I got to do a shorter set and then come back, and I thought that maybe I would see the last 10 or 5 minutes. I think he did 2 hours.
Oh,
Damn.
Not a lot of him.
wow.
So it was like a cool, cool comedy night.
That's
And
so
those
cool.
nights always feel so cool where it's just like, you're like, man, I'm booked. I'm so booked that I'm like, I'm doing a set and then I'm coming
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
and
yeah,
you
yeah.
just feel so artistic.
You feel alive, and then the whole next day, like 50-year-old white people in Boise were just like noticing me around.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're
That's
cute.
So funny.
Um,
So that
that's
was
really
a
cool.
real
It's very cool.
career.
I think they do that intro thing where they introduce people where they do the God Mike introduction
Yeah.
because I've heard other times where the audience feels like the opener is blocking me from seeing the person I came to see. So they like do the voice to be like, hey guys, this is how I want the show to go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think sometimes they go like, fuck, this opener wants to do time. But that's why I think they do it.
I love it.
And I think it
actually.
works. It
is.
feels
It's cool. And it makes
cool.
the audience, because the hard thing about, you know what it is too, is like when, like I open for other people where it's like I can feel that, and depending on what the environment is, like they're kind of like, okay, we want to see, like, who are you? It's harder to get them immediately because they're like, we're excited to see Goldman,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then if they have a little sliver of the personality that they came for before the opener, it makes them feel like included and like they have control too. Like,
Yeah.
like, oh, yay, Mark's here.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
here's
yeah.
this person for a moment.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway.
So this is coming out
Oh, yes.
on April
Fifth,
23rd.
Oh, this podcast here.
This
Right?
podcast, yes. You have a special that is out now, yes?
Yes, it will be. Yes, out on YouTube. It's a half hour, and it's called "That Is My Horse." Brittany Carney, "That Is My Horse." Full half hour special. Please watch it.
Check it out. Please, listeners, please watch any of our guests. Watch their specials. I'm sure it's fantastic. Where did you film it?
In Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've done the club there, and it's a great
Good
audience.
nights. This
Yeah,
was
good
at
nights.
King's, which is like a big punk venue.
Perfect.
And the audience was so fun, and it was such a. Speaking of blessings, like I don't have an audience there. It was kind of like an experiment, and I was really impressed, and the audience was really fun.
I mean, the clips sound great.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm like, anyway, half hour.
Check it out.
That is my horse.
Link will be in the description. That's my horse. Russell.
Yes. Instagram at Russell J. Daniels, and also Uncle Function will be in LA Friday, May 3rd for Netflix is a Joke, and also The Downside Live Friday, May 3rd.
Friday, May
shows.
3rd, you can do a full. They're going to sell out. It's not huge venues. So Friday, May 3rd, we got The Downside at 7.
7.
7.
Yeah.
And then if you want to do a double dip, you can go straight from there. You can give us a ride, frankly.
Give us a ride to
Downside to the
Uncle
Uncle Function show
at
that
9:30.
night. My headphones went out. Can you hear me still? Oh, great. Here I am. I got. Let me pull it up. Fuck. Russell, sing that song real quick.
I
Russell.
got a text from someone saying I had a really weird random question for you, and someone I don't usually get texts from, and I'm like, what?
I hate that.
And I'm like,
I
just
hate that.
then say it, like whatever it is, because I'm like, like it could. I hope it's something innocuous, but it's just like
Like a favor.
If it was something big, they'd say it. They'd say, "I'm dead."
no, but
like,
it's just
you
like,
know.
is it really weird or is it like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things.
Or like a.
I have no idea. I said yes,
That's annoying.
and now
You
I'm
should
like,
say what.
and now I'm like, let's go. What is it?
That's why
Say
it's like personal. Like that would be like if you were single and there's someone you hooked up with, it'd be like, "Do you have an STD that
Yeah.
you didn't tell me about?"
Yeah.
Like that's like
Right,
what
right,
that
right,
that thing is. Guys, join the Patreon. I forgot to plug it. Patreon.com/downside. You get one bonus episode a month with me and Russell. You get a live episode, the full episode. Patreon.com/downside. Link in the comments. And I will be in Boston May 10th and 11th. Gonna be big shows. And then after that, I'm in Arizona May 16th, May 17th, and 18th. And then I'm in Denver May 19th. First show is already sold out. We added a second. Could be sold out by then. But get those tickets. And then Japan. Listen,
Awesome.
the tickets, they hit 8 sold, and then it stopped. I don't know if Japan you buy a little closer to. Maybe that's the culture you buy the day of, and I shouldn't be worried. But please, Japan, if you know anyone in Tokyo,
How many tickets?
it's
are
not a lot.
available?
But I want to add shows.
Yeah.
So Japan, please, if you have a friend in Tokyo, please, dear God, tell them and send me Rex. I'm so excited to go there. And this is The Downside.
1, 2, 3. You're listening to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.